Hello, my name is Cadet Suarez, and today I am joined here today by Cadet McHugh, and today we will talk to you about the variables most highly correlated with a higher selling price in order for you to sell houses. Our research indicates that a high sale price is highly correlated with the square footage of the house. Bedrooms, bathrooms, the year the house was built, the amount of parking spaces, and other factors have a significant effect on the home price, but square footage is by far the most significant. We analyzed three different zip codes: Amarillo, Texas, Rogers, Arkansas, and Tampa Bay, Florida. And of the three, Amarillo has the best livability score at 78 out of 100.
Our initial problem statement for this project was to use Zillow to determine what factors most heavily influence home price. We decided we wanted to tackle this problem using a linear regression because linear regression gives us metrics like p-value and the coefficient, which would allow us to determine statistically significant factors. So in this case, we decided that we would use linear regression to show which variables were statistically significant in home price. Once we determined that we were going to use linear regression, we moved into the data collection process. So we first chose three random zip codes that would be our areas of interest. So Tampa, Florida, Amarillo, Texas, and Rogers, Arkansas. We chose random zip codes to mitigate the effects of any nuisance factors. So another decision we made was to only look at single family homes because Zillow's data on other homes like condos, townhomes, and just undeveloped lots is pretty sparse. So sometimes they lack bedrooms, bathrooms, lot size, parking spaces, things of that nature. So we then moved on to Zillow.com, which is the website we use to pull all of our data. And looking at, if we pull up a listing here, looking at this, we see this first container right here, which contains price, bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage, which we decided that we were going to use. And then also, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a facts and features container, which has some other important variables in here. So we decided we were going to scrape both of these. Now, the tricky thing about Zillow is that the HTML structure, these all have the same class. So when we went through and scraped, we just scraped this container entirely into one column, which caused some problems in the, or not problems, but made the cleaning process more tedious because it was all in one column. So our base function scraped each individual listing for those two containers. And then we had to apply that base function to every listing on a page for a search result for a zip code area. So the base function would iterate through each one of these listings. And then we wrote another function to apply both of those functions to each page on a search result. So after we did applied those functions to all of our three zip codes, we had raw CSVs that looked something like this. So there's a price column, an information column, and a facts column. And as you can see, this is not ideal at all. All of the information is combined into three columns. And we can, right now as is, we cannot use this really for anything. So we had to go into the cleaning process, most of which was in Excel. We used several functions like text to columns and find and replace to clean all of this. And after we went through all of that, we had our cleaned CSV, which looks like this. Okay, so we have a column for all of our variables: zip code, price, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, home type, year, parking spaces, price per square foot, and lot size. So now that we had a clean CSV, we were able to perform the linear regression in R. So we did a regression with the response variable being home price and each of the predictor variables being one of those columns in our clean CSVs. So the metric we used to determine variable significance was the p-value. As you can see here, R indicates significance with these stars as these significant codes. So for Tampa Bay, the significant variables were square footage and number of bedrooms. For Rogers, the significant variables were square footage, number of bathrooms, and then Amarillo, the significant variables were square footage and number of bedrooms. So after we got the results of these regressions, we plotted each of the significant variables against the response variable, which was home type.
On the Tampa Bay, Florida page, we have two graphs. One is the price versus number of beds, and the other is the price versus square feet. On the price versus number of beds graph, you can see the number of beds versus the price. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the most common. Number 3 has the least amount of range, so you'll know that on average your prices are going to be a lot closer, while 4 beds gives you the biggest amount of range, which means the most deviance in your actual home sale value. Clicking over to the right, you'll see the price versus square feet graph. You'll see a linear positive correlation between square feet of house and the ultimate selling price of the house, with an average square foot of house of between 1,000 and 1,600 square feet. Looking at the bottom of the overview page, if you place your mouse over the Tampa Bay, Florida, there will be a pop-up for the livability rating of Tampa Bay, Florida. The livability rating is 66, with the highest grade in amenities and the lowest in crime, employment, and schooling. Our analysis shows then that Tampa Bay, Florida is a great place for the material aspects. However, for things like schooling, safety, or job growth, Tampa Bay, Florida is not the best place to be. Now looking at the Rogers, Arkansas page, we have two graphs, price versus bathroom and price versus square feet. Taking a look at price versus bathroom graph, we can see that most of the houses have bathrooms between 3 to 6, and that correlates highly with the price. Clicking over to the right to the graph for price versus square feet, you'll notice that compared to the other cities, that Arkansas has a higher square feet of house. However, there still is a positive correlation between square feet of house and price. Now moving your mouse over to the left over the Rogers, Arkansas pop-up, you'll find the livability rating of 75, which is higher than Tampa Bay, and that is due to the better grades for crime and employment. Schools, however, remain at an F for both Tampa Bay and Rogers. Clicking over to the Amarillo, Texas page, we'll have two graphs, price versus beds and price versus square feet. If you click on the price versus beds tab, you'll find that the houses range from having 2 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, with the majority of the houses having 3 or 4. Clicking over to the right, you'll find the graph for price versus square feet. As with all the other zip codes, there is a positive correlation between square feet of the house and the overall selling price. However, at 1,200 square feet, there's an outlier, and that is most likely due to the compounding facts of other variables. Lastly, if you move your cursor to the left to Amarillo, Texas, the pop-up shows a livability rating of 78, and this is mostly due to the increase of score from F to A in the schools category. Using these ratings, you could figure out what category is most important to you and buy houses based on these categories and scores.
Just to reiterate one more time, after conducting our analysis, we determined that a decision maker should consider square footage over all other variables when choosing what house to invest in. While it's rather intuitive that square footage has a strong positive relationship with home price, it's interesting to note that variables like year built, beds, and bathrooms are much less influential and in some cases insignificant in determining home price. Also, Amarillo has the highest livability rating with a score of 78 as compared to the other two zip code areas we looked at. So we recommend investing resources into this zip code area.